Hi ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are doing amazing today in another video. Um, so I was I was thinking about yesterday I was thinking about what I could talk about, and I noticed something, when you are experiencing a lot of stress and anxiety in your life, right? And when you're overly when you're in your head too much, right? Um, you're overly analytical. um, in a sense, that can get you disconnected from the divine. And as it is a spiritual world too, right? That's when the enemy can get to you. um, when you're overly in your head. In other words, you're operating from your rational mind instead of also tapping into the emotional and connecting to the emotional and to the physical body, right? Then you're kind of in a sense limiting yourself, and you're limiting that connection to source, where you receive original downloads. But and so the enemy can get you at that time too, when you're overly analytical, anxious, scared, depressed, maybe stressed out, right? And a lot of delusions can start um, clouding your judgment, because uh, stress and anxiety can uh, cause you to perceive your external environment in a certain way. And so, in a sense, because of that anxiety and stress that you're experiencing on the inside, the external environment can start looking threatening, and it's not always the case, and the reason why I'm mentioning this, not because of myself, right, but because of someone that I've been watching. And um, and this person, right, she's experiencing a lot of stress, and it's very sad, because I like her channel, I think she has a good heart, but and that's why I watch her, right? That's why I enjoy watching her channel. Also, she's really smart, and she says some very, very like things that are on point, But at the same time, I noticed something, and I noticed that um, she's coming off as very delusional in terms of her thinking, and um, too exaggerated. So she's, because she's experiencing so much stress in her life, right? Even homelessness, right? And of course, as you guys know, that can be like extremely, incredibly stressful, right? Like I said, this is making her perceive everyone and everything as a threat, which is not the case, right? And because it's a spiritual battle, right? The enemy will attack you through your thoughts, right? And so the thoughts can come in, right? And they're going to be like, oh, this person is dangerous, this person is dangerous, maybe you should be careful, this and this and this, right? And so when we disconnect from our emotions in order to, and when we're in kind of like a fight or a flight mode, right, whereas we're in survival mode, the enemy can get us with delusional thoughts about situations, right? And even circumstances, and the things to come even, right? And so she just made a video about a war that's coming, right? Uh, I think she said this war will start in US, right? And then between US and Canada or something like that, right? But anyways, and I was thinking, well, and anyways, her video is very like, it's very urgent, right? And she's saying that it's prophetic, right? When in reality, judging based on what I saw her in her previous videos, it's not prophetic. She's very much disconnected from herself at this point, so she's stuck in her rational mind. And once again, the enemy, I believe, is getting to her. He's instilling these thoughts that are faulty in her mind, and she's she's got a pretty good following. She has like a almost, I think, 6,000 followers, right? And so she is instead of raising our collective consciousness, right, and increasing the vibrations of the collective, right, and every individual, she's doing the opposite now, right? And so it goes to show that, guys, be careful who you watch, right? And don't just believe anything just because it says it's a prophetic word, right? Don't believe in everything that you're hearing. Um, and so that's where, tapping into your own intuition, tapping into your own inner guidance, tapping into your own emotions, and really connecting to source. That's why this is so important. That's where it comes in, right? You have to do that because, um, you know, people, yes, they can be very much tapped in, right? But um, they also have their own, they're going through stuff, right? And they have their moments of weakness, right? And so we don't always know everything. Sometimes we're wrong, right? Sometimes we let certain thoughts that are faulty consume us, right? And so that's why it's so important to really take this power back into your hands and really to tap in yourself, so you don't allow others to misguide you, right? Even the ones that have some influence, right? And so yeah, I think that's so important, especially at this time. But anyways, in this video, guys, I wanted to discuss something. Okay, I wanted to discuss you know I wanted to discuss people, right? And I wanted to say that, my life completely changed, right, when I stopped assuming that everyone was like me. Okay? Um, we're all different, we're all so unique. Yes, we come from the same source, right? But we're so unique. We have different spirits, right? First and foremost. And that in itself makes us like day and night, literally, right? Day and night, right? Light and darkness, right? And so but of course, there are some people that are in between, right? And that's a lot of people, right? They're in between. They have they're, in a sense, you can call them lukewarm, right? Um, they haven't chosen a side, and at their core, they're very good. Um, well, supposedly everyone is good at their core, right? But I don't think that's the case for certain individuals, or at least that's not the experience that they came here to have. They might be good at their core, but they're never going to get there in this lifetime, because perhaps they're needed for this, balance, right, of good and evil versus evil, right? Perhaps we need this balance in order to be in balance, right? And so we need this balance of good and evil, right? And so that's why perhaps they're here in order to play their role, right? So they chose, in this lifetime, they chose to have this experience of being the villains, right? um, and so they came here to play this part, and that's what they're going to do for the rest of their life, and they're not going to change, right? They say that psychopaths, for example, they're born psychopaths, right? And that's very obvious, and they already, like, really early on, they kind of like realize this about themselves, that they're very different and they're not the same. And they kind of like realize very early on in life that they're not like everyone else and that they're bad, and they kind of like they own it. And so yeah, perhaps it's just a matter of balance, and that's why bad people exist, right? Because we need that balance. um, and so yeah, but having said that, I think it's extremely important for us to recognize that not everyone is like us, and there are some people that are different, right? And some are good, yeah, some are bad, some are somewhere in between, some are closer to being good, very good, right? So we're all on a spectrum, right? And it's not just about good or bad, really, or your influence. It's also about just the type of a person that you are, the things that you like, the things that you dislike, right? And I think that's also important too, right? And so, um, it's just important to recognize those differences, right? And um, for one, right, is that when you recognize that people are different and they're not exactly like you, you're actually going to take your rose-colored glasses off, and you're going to get to know the real them, right? And so you're giving them the opportunity to show themselves, right? And so most people, or some people at least, will appreciate that, right? While of course others, they will not want you to see their real selves, so they're going to run very far away from you, right? Or they're going to try to pretend to be someone that they're not, at least initially, right? But if they're bad at their core, they can't hide this for too much long, like for too long, you know. So eventually, this true nature of theirs, which is bad at their core, is going to be revealed, you know. And once again, I think empaths and narcissists or psychopaths are two extremes, right? And everyone else and most people are somewhere in the middle, right? But of course it depends on the individual who is influencing or who has a lot of influence, like in politics, like people in politics, or people in large corporations like the CEOs, right? Once again, they do have a lot of influence, right? And so they kind of dictate who decides who will become what, you know, in a sense, right? Because there's this thing as, I think, personalization, right? And that's, I think, when people are trying to, like, when it's like a way of coping for people, right? I think I mentioned this in one of my other videos, right? Is that people become like their leaders, right? Or their in people in corporations, right? Or in groups, right? They become like their leaders because they want to blend in, they want to fit in, right? They don't want to um, they don't want to cause issues, or they don't want to be fired, for example, or something like that, or they don't want to be thrown out of the group, right? So there's that, right? So it's a huge issue, because if the leader is a narcissist or a psychopath or a predator, right, they're going to infect everyone in that group or that organization to become just like them, right? And so I think that's what we're seeing in our society today, right? But what I'm saying is that let's get back to what I was talking about, right? And that's you have to get to know people, right? And so instead of assuming that they're just like you, in most cases we make the assumptions that people are just like us, and that's where a lot of our kind of issues come from. Okay, like for example, this happens all the time, right? Like in Christianity or in any religion, really. Fights happen, right? Because one is trying to force another to believe in something that they believe in, right? And so you guys have to remember that force never works, right? It just creates the opposite reaction, right? And so it's important to behave this in a similar manner with other individuals, because they are, at the end of the day, they are individuals, and we owe it to them to get to know them and to accept them also. Of course, we don't have to accept, to accept them as they are, what I mean, right? Without trying to change them. Instead, what we do is we get into relationships with people, right? And we assume that they're like us, or we're trying to make them fit into our way of thinking, or the way we project, basically, right? So we project our own qualities also onto them, right? Because we want to, right? We want to. It like we, at the end of the day, we want to have a connection, like a strong connection in our life. We want to have a good relationship. We want to have someone like us, right? Someone who understands us, right? But that's a very um, that's going to land us into a lot of sadness and a lot of grief. It can end up leaving us in grief and disappointment, because many people are not like us. They don't have the same hearts, right? They don't have the same um, values. They don't have the same morals. They don't have the same beliefs. They don't have the same ways of looking at the world, right? And they don't have the same motivations, right? And so we have to drop our rose-colored glasses and accept people, or at least look at people, view people as they are, not as we want them to be, right? And so that, once again, it can make another person really feel seen, right? And also uh, it can scare off potential predators too, because they don't want to be seen, right? And if they're pretending, you will see this too, if you drop the rose-colored glasses, right? And so um, there's that, right? And so yeah, you guys, um, it's kind of like this too, right, guys? A lot of, in society, right? In yeah, our society, like the world, right, on a whole, as a whole, it's extremely different, right? Like different cultures have a lot of differences, right? And so the problem with a lot of people is that, for example, right, and I'll just give you to you, like, I'll give you an example, a really good example, right, is that, like, for example, I learned about this kid not too long ago, right? And this kid, he went to North Korea, right? And he decided to, like, play a joke or something, and he just wanted to take off a flag or something like that, right? Or just take a flag home or something, right? And he ended up getting jailed for like 25 years or something like that, or for life, I don't know, right? But I don't remember, okay? But basically it was such a harsh punishment, right? And he was just crying and he was like apologizing, but it didn't work, so yeah, don't make the mistake of assuming that what you can do in your culture you can do in another too, right? That's kind of like this too, right? In the on a macro level, right? Not just with individuals, but if you go somewhere, right, to another culture, like for example, if you go to a very conservative culture as a woman, right? If you go to India, don't go to India alone. But if you go to, or like to Egypt, right? Don't go as a woman. Don't go there alone, okay? Um, but you have to consider those significant differences, and because otherwise you will be putting yourself in danger, okay? And guys, I've made this mistake before, I made this mistake before when I went to Dubai, for example, and on the train there, right, the woman and men like can't sit together, right? Oh, I think maybe unless they're married, I guess, right? Well, that would make sense, right? I don't think they would separate them, but men and women cannot sit together on the train, right? And it's so strange because it seems like such a like it's a it seems like a progressive, like, and developed country, right? But it's not, or city, right? It's really not and well, although it is, but in a sense it's not, right? Or the way that I view it is this is kind of, I mean, to me it was strange, right? Because of course I'm coming from a different culture, right? But anyways, I started talking to, I saw a guy and he saw me and we just started talking. He was also another tourist, right? Cute guy. We just started talking, right? And we kind of clicked it off. He was really interesting, and then suddenly everyone started staring at us, right? Like especially the guys there, and they were like giving us like very meaning, angry looks. And at some point, another guy came up to him and just said, "You can't talk to her." And I was like, huh? Like, in my head, I'm like, well, are you kidding me? Like, I can talk to whomever I want, right? Like, what are you doing? But that's because my culture is different, right? In their culture, that's not allowed. Like, you're not supposed to sit together if you, unless you're married, maybe, right? And so I was shocked because I was oblivious to that rule, and so was he, the guy who I was talking to, right? And so they kind of like made us separate, and we just kind of started like looking at, for like we sat separately, right? But we just started laughing and just kind of like looked at each other like, what the hell? So for him it was also like very strange, right? Because he wasn't used to that, and for me too, right? But anyways, I think we should respect those differences. Uh, because one thing, if we don't, it can get us into big trouble, right? Uh, or put us into danger, right? And another is because um, we can't change someone, right? Or another culture. We just can't. It's too hard. It's too. It would take changing each individual and influencing them. On a micro level, right, from within. And that's and then that's gonna spread, and then eventually this change will happen, right? But it's very individual, right? So uh, people, um, they have to be open and inspired to change, otherwise they will not. And the same applies to culture, right? Once again, it does come down to culture, right? It comes down to uh, individual change, and then grander change, right? Within a culture. But you can't just come in and change everything yourself, right? And change everything and everyone in the way people have been behaving in that culture for generations, right? So we have to respect it, and we have to consider it, right? And act accordingly. So there's that, right? And I think a lot of people don't understand this, or they don't think about it like I did in Dubai, right? We didn't really think about this. We didn't even know the rule existed, and I wasn't aware of the signs either. I was paying attention to other stuff. There were so many interesting things to look at, right? Just people, like observing people was so interesting too, right? And so I didn't notice, and same I think applied to him. He didn't notice, right? And so yeah. But anyways, yeah. So if people don't want to be, in most cases, projected onto, they want to be accepted as they are. That makes them feel heard, makes them feel seen, and makes them feel very good and connected to. It connects you guys together. Okay. And yes, and if you project your own, for example, good heart onto someone who is evil, you're going to end up disappointed and hurt, and um, you're going to end up in a situation that you don't want to be in, right? And so there's that, right? Um, yeah, so acceptance of others, right, changes any dynamic and allows the others to feel at ease and to seek change for themselves if they want to, right? If they feel led to do it, okay? So yeah, I guess I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos, okay? Please subscribe if you haven't already, and much love to you guys.